Hello everybody, and welcome back to Instant Release. Today, this is the first time I make lens reviews on this channel, and I want to preface this by saying that I was not sponsored. Nobody contacted me to make this video, because the lens manufacturer that I'm going to talk about, I know, is known to contact a lot of people. I have had a few emails in my inbox from them asking me to test some of their lenses, which I have never responded to. But since I'm going to glaze those lenses quite a bit in this video, I want to make sure that you know that this video is not sponsored. This is my own opinion. I have bought those lenses used with my own money, and so, you know, this is as unbiased as I can be. So, today we're talking about my two favorite X-mount lenses, and those lenses are both made by the same manufacturer, which is TT Artisan. And the two lenses that I want to talk about today are the 17mm f1.4 and 35mm f1.4. I bought both of those lenses used. The 17mm, I've had this lens for about a year now, and this 35mm, I've had this lens for, I want to say, 3 to 4 months now. So, you know, I've had quite a bit of experience with both of those lenses. I bought the 35mm much later compared to the 17mm, even though I saw both of those lenses and they came on my radar pretty much around the same time, because I also have a couple of other 35mm lenses, like this Fujifilm XF 35mm f2 and this Nikon AI 35mm f2 as well. So if I wanted to have a nice, good optical quality 35mm, I had both of those lenses available, one which is my manual focus, which is one of my favorite lenses to ever exist, and one which is autofocus weather sealed metal built lens, which is quite practical to have, especially on cameras like the X Pro 2 or my X-T1, which are both weather sealed just as much. So that means that 35mm f1.4 was on the back burner for quite a while, and I saw one used near me for $55, and so I, you know, took the splurge on it. I figured even if the lens is bad, at least I have a smaller manual focus lens, because this one is quite big and heavy, and I do prefer my manual focusing to autofocus on Fujifilm cameras, especially the older Fujifilm cameras. So that was something that even if the lens was bad, I would have enjoyed anyway. Now, when it comes to the 17mm, I bought that lens used on MPB for €60, I think. Something like that, 61, 62. I don't remember the exact price, but anyway. The main thing is that both of those lenses, I bought them used. They were basically brand new when I got them, like very barely used. But if you want to get them brand new, you can get some through, I don't know, like normal circuits. If you want to get Chinese manual focus lenses like this, so like Amazon or whatever, and they are quite a bit more expensive there. I think the 17mm is around €130, while the 35mm f1.4 is more around the 100. So it's more expensive to buy them brand new. I mean, that's a bit of an evidence. Anyway, let's talk about the optical performance, because I think this is the one area in which those lenses kind of impressed me. And we are going to talk about the build quality and the ease of use and stuff like that later. But I want to start with the optical performance, because that's the one thing that you buy a lens for. That's the optical performance quality. The optical performance quality, that's a quite an interesting sentence. Anyway, that's the optical performance of those lenses that is important. And when I bought them, I really thought that they would be kind of bad, you know, like having a very cheap f1.4 lens to me means that the lens is going to be a bit of a piece of shit. And that's often true when it comes to those Chinese lenses. Like if you look at like the 55mm f1.4 from 7 Artisan, for example, that's kind of a piece of shit lens. But those lenses, they actually got very high scores, in my opinion. The first thing I want to talk about is sharpness, of course. The 17mm, even at f1.4, you have some sharpness in the center, but it's not exactly the best. You have some, fringing, chromatic aberrations and stuff like that even in the center of the frame, but it's quite a sharp image. And the corners, though, they are not very good at f1.4. They're not very usable. If you want to have a usable image, I think the 17mm needs to be close to at least f2.8, which is where the sensor starts to be really, really sharp. Like it's sharp, like you get the contrast back, you get a good sharpness in the center from about f2, but at f2.8, this lens starts to be good. The corners are still quite blurry, but they are okay. But if you want to have sharp corners as well, at least corners that I would consider to be usable for stuff like landscapes, I would close the lens down to around f8. Both of the 17 and 35, if you close them too much, you will have the effect of diffraction, just like any other lenses, and the effects come in around a bit further f11, closer to f16, which is the maximum, like the tighter aperture of both of those lenses anyway, so I felt it makes sense to have that going around. The 35mm f1.4 on the other hand is not nearly as riddled with chromatic aberrations wide open at f1.4. It's still a lens that will have some optical deficiencies at f1.4, like you have some chromatic aberrations, even though it's not as bad as 17. The corners will be blurry, stuff like that. You will have a lot of vignetting as well. But once you close it down to like f2, the sensor becomes very, very sharp, and I'm going to compare that to the 35 f2 in a minute. But from f2 onwards, it's just improvements. Like basically, your corners are pretty sharp from like f2.8 and down to like f8. f8 is like the maximum image quality of that lens, and at f16, it's riddled with diffraction again. But the 35mm really impressed me on the sharpness. Because it's a very simple optical formula, and it's something that is, seeing a lens that sharp with that little number of elements is something that I don't see quite that often, and that's something that really impressed me, especially compared to the 35 f2, which I tested with the same camera, same setup, same tripod, and didn't move it or whatever. And the 35 f2, first of all, at f2, was softer than the 35 f1.4 at f2, and it was softer like across the frame, across the board, pretty much at every aperture. Like the 35 f2 is a very sharp lens in the center, but the corners were always blurrier on the 35 f2 than they were on the 35 f1.4 from TT and that made, to me, optically, the 35 f1.4 has a higher potential when it comes to image quality compared to the 35 f2, which, though I like that lens and I think it's a sharp lens, didn't manage to get quite as sharp as the 35 f1.4, which to me is quite nuts. And really, that's the biggest thing to me when it comes to these lenses, is how cheap they are and how good they perform when it comes to optical performance. To me, that's the cherry on top. I want to go back on the 17mm just quickly about the softness, and that's something that I've been playing with that lens to, play around the chromatic aberrations and the softness of that lens wide open to get very interesting backgrounds on stuff like that, considering the center of the image is still sharp, even though there are chromatic aberrations there. You can get some quite interesting images, I think, with this lens, and it's just simply an interesting lens to use. Now, both of those lenses have interesting bokeh. It's nothing like clean modern glass. It's going to be a quite busy background blur, and it's something that, in my opinion, is going to be a matter of taste. I personally really like vintage lenses with very busy bokeh. I think it's the one thing that makes me shoot vintage lenses a lot more than modern lenses on pretty much any system. And the moment I see a modern lens with some interesting characteristics for the background blur, I think that instantly becomes one of my favorites. And Yeah, I think the bokeh is very good. Now, both of those lenses have one very big flaw, and that's also a flaw that I saw in my TT-75mm f2 that I had on Nikon Z, and that's the fact that they have very poor flare resistance. If you have a light source in the frame, you will have flaring, you will have a loss of contrast, you will have all of those things, all of the bad things that we associate with flaring and light sources and stuff like that. So really, it's something that you need to take care of when you are composing your image. The nice thing about the 35mm is that it comes with a lens hood like this one. So it's a screw-on lens hood, which is quite nice. But you have it included. You don't have it with the 17 at f1.4, which is quite unfortunate because, in my opinion, it's the one that is the most affected by flaring, especially with those wide angles of view, of course. Okay, so that was for the optical performance. In my opinion, comparing to the price, it's a slam dunk really for both of those lenses, even at their sticker price. I think it's interesting to have lenses to perform really as good as this that are available as cheap. Now I want to talk about the build quality, and I also had some expectations going in because I am not stranger to Chinese manual focused lenses. My very first X-mount lens, which I still have, is this one. This is the 7 25mm f1.8, and though I like that lens, there are a lot of things when it comes to the build quality and the user experience which I don't like. Namely, the focus ring is like uneven. You have some areas that are more resistant than others, so it's a bit jerky when you move the focus ring around. The aperture is stepless, which I hate when it comes to selecting your aperture. And I mean, simply the distance markings are not accurate. They look like very cheap. The camera can focus on that. But yeah, the main thing with the 25mm f1.8 is that this lens was really cheaply built. Like, it's metal, granted, but it's really cheaply built, and I really don't like that. Anyway, the thing with the 35 f1.4 and the 17 f1.4 is that they are really well built. Their focus rings are very well dampened, and they have nice end stops. The focus markings, the focus distances, distance markings, yeah, I would get there eventually. They are pretty accurate, and on the 17mm f1.4 they are very accurate, meaning that the infinity hard stop is really infinity, which is good. And when it comes to the aperture rings, you have clicks. First of all, it's not a clickless aperture ring, and you have half stop clicks every time you get between two stops, so that's good as well. The 35mm is not like the 17. The 17 from f1.4 to f11 to f16, you have every stop and half stop clicks that are on the ring. That's good. On the 35mm, you don't have that, meaning that you have it between like f1.4 and f4. You have every stop and half stop, and then f4.4 goes to f5.6 without the half stop click, and then again goes to f8 without the half stop click. So that's not great there. And even worse still, it goes from f8 to f16. You don't have an f11, which is quite annoying. I don't like that. It's not the end of the world though, that the 35mm is much more prone to be shot wide open, in my opinion, so that's not really a big issue. But both of those lenses to me are very well constructed. I have added at the bottom, if you can see, a little bit of focus tab that I can use, which is very nice, and I quite like to use that with my Expo 2 because I can use it like a lens with like my finger under the camera, and I don't have to go like that, which I don't really like to do. This is really like quick and easy, and I really like that. So this is basically the preferred handling that I have for those lenses, and to me the build quality is basically perfect in a sense that they are both metal and glass, and that's it. There's no plastic involved. They feel very, very good. The focus ring is very well dampened, as I said, and they both come with labeled focus lens caps, which are metal and screw-on, which are much better to protect against dust. Like snap-on plastic caps are great, but they let the dust come through, and they are practical, but they are not very good at protecting lens elements against dust specifically, whereas the screw-on caps do, and they are labeled as well. So as I said, it's great. And they also, I mean, that's very shallow. That's just a personal preference, but they look amazing on cameras like the X-Pro 2. Like this looks like it belonged here, you know? Like it does not feel like, let's say, a modern Nikon lens and a Nikon ZF, for example, that looks out of place. This does not. This feels and looks like a classic rangefinder lens, and I find that amazing. And that goes for both the 17 and the 35 f1.4. So, yeah, in conclusion, even though those lenses are not really that usable at the maximum aperture of f1.4, which is what makes the appeal of those lenses, if you close them down a little bit, just down to f2 or f2.8, they are amazing lenses with great optics and sharp images. And for the price that they're at, really, I don't think there's anything better in the Fujifilm ecosystem right now. Not from Fujifilm, because I don't like their autofocus and the focus by wire manual focusing. Like my 35mm f2, first of all, is worse than the 35 f1.4 optically at pretty much every aperture, but also it has like huge correction profiles in Capture One, which like crops in quite a bit, and the corners are like horrendous looking compared to what they look like on the 35 f1.4 without any correction profiles. So really, that there's no match between those two lenses when it comes to optical performance. But also, if I want to use that lens with the manual focusing, I don't have the ability to put like a focus tab on it to be quick. And it's a non-linear response, and it's steppy. It's not very, very good. I don't like it. So honestly, they are not my preference. It's practical to have a lens like this, which is decently sharp, good optics, has autofocus, and is weather sealed. But I'm not using that lens that much compared to the 35 f1.4, which hasn't left my X-Pro 2 since I got it, pretty much. So, yeah, I think those two lenses, through their optical performance, through their build quality, through the ease of use and the user experience, I think they are my two favorite lenses right now on the X-mount. And that's about all I wanted to say. I'm using them pretty much. I always use like a trio of lenses, or whether it be on my Nikon Z system or my Micro Four Thirds system or Fujifilm. I always have a trio of lenses. I have a wide angle, a normal lens, and a small telephoto. So on Micro Four Thirds, for example, is like my 14 f2.5, which is 28 equivalent, and my 20mm f1.7, which is about 40mm. And then I have a 45 f1.8, which is like a 90mm for portraits and longer shots. And in Fujifilm world, I'm using the 17 f1.4 as my wide angle, then my 35 f1.4 as my normal lens, and for my small telephoto, I'm using this Nikon 50mm f1.8 AI or AIS. I don't remember which it is. I think it's AIS lens, which is adapted. It's a pancake lens, but on the adapter, it's not a pancake lens anymore, of course. And this as well is like very similar to the two lenses I just talked about, in the sense that wide open is not the best lens in the world, but the optical quality, when you close it down a little bit, just like f2.8 or f4, is amazing, and the lens is great, the focus ring is amazing. Like, honestly, it's the kind of lenses that I want to talk more about on this channel, and I think I'm going to make a review specific to this 50mm f1.8, because not only is it a great APS-C 75mm equivalent, but it's also a lens that I've been using quite a lot on my full-frame cameras, whether it be my Nikon Z6, my Nikon D700, or even my Canon 5D Classic. So, that's about all I had to say for this video today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.